If you're struggling to pass English, I'm going to teach you how to do it in less than 5 minutes. But first, I need you to think about this exam in a very particular way. You should be thinking about the exam as if it's a game. Like in most games, you've got a set time limit, and everything that you do in that time limit should be geared towards getting yourself points or marks. I'm going to give you 5 simple strategies that maximize your marks for minimum effort. The first thing you want to be thinking about for any English language exam is your timing. Basically, you want to spend 1 minute per mark. So if you've got a 20-mark question, you want to be spending about 20 minutes on it. The more marks, the more time you spend on it and the more detail you put into it. If you're not doing this, you're losing out on tons of marks. The next most important thing is explaining what a writer is trying to get you to think or feel. You get tons of marks for this in all sorts of different questions in English. So anytime you're reading something, think about what emotion are they trying to get you to feel? What are they trying to get you to think about a particular character or place? Make a note of this as you're reading and always refer to it in an answer that you write. Number 3 is super important, and it's that quotations equal marks. Anytime you make a point about anything, you need to prove it with an exact quotation from the text. Put some speech marks around it, make sure you're using something as proof every time you write something. So once you've explained how a writer is making you think or feel and you've used a quotation to prove it, the next most important thing is vocabulary. The reason vocabulary is so important is it makes your ideas more specific and you get better marks. Let's say you're saying a character is angry. Rather than just using that vague term that sounds a little bit childish and simplistic, go for something a bit more specific. Are they just a bit irritated? Are they frustrated? Are they absolutely furious? Picking words like this is going to make your idea more specific and therefore you're going to get more marks. The last thing you've got to think about is the methods that writers use. Now, a lot of people get a bit scared about this sort of technical terminology, but you want to be looking out for a few simple things that you can write about. First off, verbs. Every sentence has got a verb in it, so you're likely to have a lot of verbs that you can make some sort of comment on. Look for an action word and try and make some sort of comment on that. You're also going to get very descriptive passages which use a lot of adjectives. Anytime you can talk about a descriptive word and say this adjective is used for whatever purpose, that's great. And the last technique you want to look for are similes and metaphors. Most of the language that you're given will have some sort of simile, something comparing something to something else using the word like. Talk about that and explain the effect of it as much as you possibly can. So to sum up, these are your priorities to get the maximum amount of points. Think about your timing, 1 minute per mark. Make sure you're explaining what a writer is making you think or feel. Use a quotation to prove every idea that you've got in there. Make sure that you're using the most specific vocabulary that you can, and make sure you've excluded some sort of technical terminology. So let's look at an example. If your question looks like this,
how does the writer use language to create tension in this extract?
you probably want to spend about 8 minutes, 10 minutes really, writing an answer that looks like this.
The writer makes the reader feel tense by using a short, abrupt sentence. The door slammed shut. The verb slammed creates a sense of sudden danger, emphasizing the character's terror.
In this answer, we've stuck to timing. We've explained what the writer makes us think or feel. We've used a quotation to prove our idea. We've made our vocabulary nice and specific. And we've also used some technical terminology. Stick with all of that stuff and you'll easily pass.